And joining us now on the phone, we're going to go to Kimo Quaintance, who is an eyewitness who was actually at a cafe. Kimo, if you're joining us now, can you excuse me, Kimo Quaintance. Kimo, you were in a cafe, is my understanding, in downtown Munich when this took place. Tell me exactly where you were, how far away, and what did you see?
Well, we were close by to what we'd heard was a second shooting, but we were in the back of a restaurant. We didn't hear any shots, but just right in the middle of dinner, kind of out of the blue, we just suddenly heard screaming from the front of the restaurant. And we looked over, and everyone in the front of the restaurant was just rushing towards the back, jumping over chairs, smashing furniture, glasses smashing, people trampling each other. Just a total panic in the restaurant.
So, Kimo, you heard the gunshots, and that's when people panicked. They didn't know what was happening.
No, we didn't hear the gunshots. I mean, we did not hear the gunshots at the time. So we were too far in the back of the restaurant to hear anything. But we just heard this absolute panic spread through the restaurant. So I grabbed my girlfriend. We ran downstairs. We hid ourselves in a cellar, barricaded ourselves in a bathroom. But just absolute terror.
How were you getting information, Kimo, when this attack was going down? How were you being informed about what was happening?
Well, we jumped on our phones. We were looking. We were actually getting news first from U.S. sources before German sources. So, and I'd seen some flashes on my phone, but and then we were hearing things on Facebook. People were checking in. So really, I mean, immediately we were getting all sorts of pings around the world. But as we were hiding downstairs, we were just trying to find out what was happening. Could anybody tell us what was going on? No one knew what was happening. A tremendous amount of fear. At
what point, Kimo, did you feel comfortable from leaving that cellar and actually venturing out?
Well, we came up maybe 15 minutes later, and everyone had looked around. There were police everywhere. It was clear that there hadn't been a danger in the restaurant itself. But it was maybe half an hour of waiting, unsure, should we leave? Would we be safer in the restaurant? Would we be safer trying to get away from the area? So we'd stayed for about a half an hour and then decided it was time to leave.
I'm curious, Kimo, so many people are watching this right now, streaming in live from across the U.S. and around the world. Nobody expects to find themselves in the situation that you found yourself in today. When you look back, is there anything you would have done differently or anything you wished you had known?
No, the odd thing is that I'd say the reason that I reacted the way I did was because I had imagined that something like this would happen. I had imagined what I would do if we were in this situation. I'd imagined how I would run and grab my girlfriend and make sure that we were safe. So no one expects it. I mean, it was a total shock the moment it happened. But I responded in the way that I did because we have been thinking about this. We have been imagining what we would do if we were in this kind of situation. So tragic as it is, I think that it's on the top of a lot of people's minds, and people are preparing themselves mentally.
Kimo, it's amazing to hear you say that. You get on a plane. Before you take off, the flight attendant tells you where the emergency exits are, how to disembark, and what to do in a situation like this. You don't go to a cafe and think, how do I find the exit door? How do I get back if an attack or some sort of emergency situation happens?
Well, because most people don't, and I think that says good things about our society. But I'd been through emergency response training before, and I remember hearing that the difference between people who freeze and the difference between people who respond are the people who respond have already thought about what they would do in an emergency. Wow. So I think just having a bit of an awareness in your head, a situational awareness, and a little bit of preparation. I experienced it myself. It makes a huge difference when something unexpected happens.
I want to repeat that because I just find that maybe the most telling thing of the afternoon. You said the people who respond are usually the people who have thought about a situation like this.
Yeah. This is something that I'd heard. It was a study that was done on earthquake survivors, and they were really looking at the difference between those who sought shelter in appropriate places and those who were paralyzed. And when they looked through the difference, the only difference was that the people who sought shelter had thought about seeking shelter in an earthquake beforehand. So just the simple act of imagining a situation, imagining what you do, it can be the difference between life and death.
Kimo, what do you think that says about the world we live in now?
I think it says terrible things about the world we live in now. I think it says terrible things that we have to expect in some way, that we would have to protect ourselves, that we would think in advance. Everyone knew to barricade themselves in a bathroom. It says awful things about where we are.
It's just horrific. We're watching the situation unfolding, and to hear Kimo Quaintance, an eyewitness who was in a cafe as the shooting unfolded. He didn't hear the shots, but he saw the panic and the pandemonium, and sort of couple minutes of lucid thinking got him down to a cellar with his girlfriend immediately, where they were barricaded for about 15 minutes. Kimo, when you came out and you saw the police and you saw the scene around you, what was the guidance from police, and how did you proceed to a secure location?
No, the police, when we came out, were really focused on locking down the area, on seeing if they could find the gunman. The police, they were very, very, very professional. They were very coordinated, but they really weren't focused on the bystanders. The most we heard was, people trying to ask us to leave the area to get away from the main rail station. So there wasn't much police guidance. You could just see that the police were, cars were driving around frantically with police officers in them, just looking to see if they could find somebody. So we didn't have as much interaction with them. We just tried to find a way to go around some side streets to get out of a crowded area and find our way home.
Kimo Quaintance, thank you so much. Hey, listen, I think that's one of the most useful bits of information that we could offer today, what you were just telling us about. Think about your exit plan. The world has changed. You have to be aware of that. You don't have to live in fear, but you have to live in awareness, I guess, right?
I don't want to live in fear. I refuse to live in fear, but I have to accept the reality that this is something, unfortunately, we should anticipate, we should be prepared for. So I never want this to happen to anybody. I never wanted it to happen near us. But unfortunately, it's the world we live in right now.
We are so glad that you and your girlfriend are safe, and that you had the presence of mind to do what you did. And again, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you very much.